Hello, beautiful stars, earth, air, fire, and water. I hope everyone has been staying prayed up, blessed up, and doing what you do best. It is a beautiful late night out here in RainChildz Corners. And I just hope you all continue to do no other than what's happening. And so, how's everyone been doing? I hope everyone has been doing okay. I just wanted to pop up on here and show my little face. And I will be adding a little small reading to this. If you need to clear any kind of energy, that's been lingering from all the different transits and everything that has been going on, because I know everybody's energy was really in bunches of bundles, just feeling a little awkward, a little bit weird, you know what I'm saying? But it's gonna be okay. Yes. You can always find something online, and you can do different exercises that will help you clear that type of energy. What I like to use is singing bowls, and get this type of energy right here, just going on through, pumping. You know what I'm saying? To get rid of any type of pent up negative energy, negative thoughts of any sorts, to bring in love, more loving energy, self-love, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is that you need to do as far as, clearing any kind of negative energy. Whether it's taking spiritual baths, you know what I'm saying, meditating on yourself, doing what it is for yourself. Because, we tend to do the most awkwardest, craziest things when we don't love ourselves. We'll put ourselves in situations where we don't need to be putting ourselves, whether it's in other people's business or, paying attention to other people's lives, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes we tend to sabotage ourselves, you know what I'm saying? When you don't love yourself, we sabotage ourselves, and I'm not perfect. I've been one to do the same thing, I've done that in the past, and as time progresses and time goes on, we have to come to that conclusion to where either you're going to change or you're just going to stay the same, No one's holier than thou. Lord knows I'm not, I'm still me. I'm still me. I'm still going to be fun. I'm still going to be loving. I'm just going to, use my intuition more. You know what I'm saying? Let go of things that no longer serve me. And that's the best thing to do, is because it's loving yourself. And that's the way you do them little type of things right there. Okay? And so, let me say something. Yeah, I will be coming back, and I will be doing a little spooky reading, I guess. And I got some other things I've been working on too, but if you know, you know. I just wanted to show these right here, if you ever go to the dollar store, Dollar Tree, because that's one of my little places I like to go in the mornings when I get off work. I found these in there. I thought they was cute because I like roses. Roses, alright, roses, are very spiritual to me. You know what I'm saying? roses, you know, they're pretty much rare. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you ever see a black rose, which really they're not really black, which they're actually like a really deep dark purplish, bluish, you know, like, but you know, just like glancing at it, it looks black. And then actually, yeah, some of them, they get to that point where they'll, you know, kind of like turn black. You know what I'm saying? But they're very rare. And I think I had put a reading up about the rose, you know, how you basically can overcome, you know, just be looking for this little reading. And for anyone that needs this message, it says, foes are locked out of your life. For anyone who needs this message, foes are locked out of your life. And so, stay tuned. Give me a second. I'm just going to let you check this out. And remember, foes are locked out of your life. Whether they know it or not, they are locked out of your life. Some foes are even tapped into something else. Okay? So hold up and let me give you the rest of the reading. God is never the author of confusion. It's never going to be to a point where you are going to be lost in the sauce and just all out there, all alone, you know, with nobody, you know, around who's going to really care. You know what I'm saying? When it comes down to you, who you are as a person, and what you're going through, because there are many others that are going through the same thing that you are possibly feeling or going through. If you're going through anything that's making you feel like, you know, you're not, for one, you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you feel like, you know, it's you against the whole entire world. No, it's never that way. And you know, I've been saying this from day one, you're never alone. You know, people will look at you because they see you, you know, walking around by yourself, doing things, you know, by yourself, and they don't even know what you really got going on when it comes down to who you are as an individual. And then to try to come up against you and kick out all these crazy, you know, names and be like, these certain societies and stuff are after you. They're absolutely mad. You know what I'm saying? I would be more careful with saying those type of things, you know, like saying, oh, the Masons is after you, they're coming to kill you, this and that and the other. Y'all really need to take heed, you know, of what you're really saying, because you don't know who some of these people are that you are attacking. You never know. And for you to even come out of your mouth and just say that to somebody, that is absolutely, it's crazy, you know. And to think that, you know, there's people actually out here that has not even, you know, spent not even a minute of time, you know, in your life, and they're out here spreading things that, you know, people just throw out there. Oh, she's a whore, she's a prostitute. People that done things yesterday are never the same person that they are today. You know, I used to be a dancer, you know, years ago, literally. And, you know, I'm not a dancer anymore, but you know, it never made me a bad person. It was the people that actually worked in that industry that made it bad. You know what I'm saying? If you know where I'm coming from. But you know, everybody do things differently. Everybody ain't perfect. And everybody, you know, it's their choice if they want to change or not. And it's your choice if you want to be around them or not. It doesn't matter. You know, the thing that does matter is how you feel about yourself and how you love yourself and how you carry yourself and what you're going to do to help elevate yourself. That's what matters. I mean, If you know you're a gifted individual and you know you can change lives for the better, then why not do that? If you know that you're here on this planet to help uplift and not, band with a bunch of idiots to try to come against, singular people who are out here that are actually looking for, the people they're supposed to band with, like their soul tribe, then do that. Help them. Don't be assuming that everybody is out here, trying to take something from you. Good and damn well, if you are all up in that person's energy, trying to siphon something off of them, then how in the hell are they the bad person and you're the good one? Make it make sense. And what's even funnier is, when people around trying to siphon your energy, I'll say the most craziest, outlandish things just to see how it gets repeated. A lot of us, we be aware forever and just be looking and knowing. And we don't even say anything. We just observe. You know what I'm saying? We look. It's always about learning. It's always about learning. But there are ways, of doing that, And I just, I stress it and will continue to stress it in my own little way. It's crazy, but, that you being your own natural, authentic self is a problem, when you don't even invite people to your problems. You know what I'm saying? So, what shall it be? Some of these people out here, they're very traumatized. You can't even speak to them. You can't even, try to show them love because they automatically think you're after them or you're going to try to do something to them or try to harm them or hurt them. I don't get it. I feel like if you're a healed individual, you shouldn't, be the type of person that's going to get triggered because somebody is watching you and liking your post. And if somebody genuinely is liking your post, then why would you want to add something to the narrative like, oh, well, this person might be trying to do something to me. And, they're always, every time I post, they're always liking da-da-da. Well, I thought that's what the hell the support is. But obviously not. Chad, I don't know. Maybe they got something, they got something to hide. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. But if you feel like, you followed an individual and you was trying to get help or whatever the case may be, and you feel like you had the knife turned on you, for, liking someone or trying to support someone, and they flipped on you or whatever the case may be, it was calling you names or whatever, calling you a troll, whatever the case may be, just move along and keep looking until you find somebody, until you bump into the right amount, the right people, basically, your actual soul tribe, because it's hard, because a lot of people are traumatized. A lot of people aren't fully healed yet, but once they get healed, then they'll know, I don't even look to see who's subscribed to me really, actually. I haven't even went live yet to, basically get to, know everybody, Yeah, so, it's like this, and this is how, I look at it, period. You can think that, some of these people are like in righteous, positions or whatever. They can, even project, what I'm saying, and instill fear into your soul, to the point where you're paranoid. Narrapoid. Excuse me, I had a thought. But yeah, they can make you paranoid. And it's, you know, the way, you know, they use their little lingo, you know, it can make you paranoid. But what they fail to realize is they're just as much as on the chopping block as the chopping block they put you on. You know, it's basically, you know, it's about control. You know what I'm saying? It's about control. And I guess the piracy thing, you know, it'll always forever remain, you know. You have your good, you know, your good pirates and your bad pirates. And then you have the in-between pirates. The in-between pirates are the ones who was not out there looking for treasure. You know what I'm saying? They were different, very, very different from the good pirate and bad pirate. Bad pirate just went around and went out there and was, you know, basically jacking other ships. And then the good pirate basically was out there like literally hunting, you know, not hunting, but you know, in search of treasure. And then the bad one usually would catch up to the good one and snatch their treasure, you know? It works like that. And then you had those other ones that was in between. You know, if they found something, they found something, they didn't. But what they were looking for was very more extravagant. You know, I don't know if you believe in, you know, mermaids. You know, I don't know if you believe in the mermaids or the different type of beings or whatever you want to call it that's in the ocean. You know, there's all kinds of things that have not yet been discovered, you know, that's in that water. Okay. You know, some people, you know, I guess what they were more after, you know, was just looking for things that were out of the ordinary, you know. Some things, you know, I guess was probably more precious than gold, you know, so they was out there, you know, looking for things that was going to bring them back to life, you know, possibly give them some more vitality or something that was going to prolong their life, perhaps. That might have been what they was looking for, something with the fountain of youth in it, you know. They always say, you know, mermaids are youthful, regardless of their age. They're always youthful. You know, then you just never know, you know. When you think about, you know, a type of, you know, fish or whatever that's in the water, you know, it'll be freezing cold, and they will still thrive. They thrive in all types of weather. It doesn't matter. I mean, they will thrive. They're very mystical. You know, you'll find that in octopuses and all kind of things. You know, octopuses, what people fail to realize is they're telepathic. Just like the whale, you know. You'll find the most extravagant things in that water, literally. But you have to sometimes just go real deep. Go as deep as you can, you know. I'm trying to think, you know, way back in that time, you know, they was not really able to travel that deep, you know, in the ocean. Though I also know that, you know, back then as well, a lot of odd and, you know, very different, unique things that lived in that ocean would come to the surface. You know, they used to come up, you know, a lot. That was back then, you know, I guess before, you know, all the technology and changes and stuff became. And, you know, so a lot of times when, you know, things happen with change and things are growing and everything's moving faster and faster nowadays, a lot of, you know, precious beings, you know, that are very unique and rare, they'll get shoved down to the, you know, deeper parts of the water, you know, to where they're never seen, you know, and you won't even hardly hear of them, you know. You know, possibly because people be hunting them and trying to get them for the wrong reason, you know. And these are magical beings. And needless to say, the moral of the story is you're going to have to sometimes swim a little deeper you know, get off the surface level conversations to actually find your spirit, you know, your spiritual tribe, your soul tribe. And you're going to have to just dig deep, because when you staying on the surface level, you know, you get lost in the sauce. Chad, I'm here to tell you, I am one of the ones who will do it in a hot minute. But yeah, you know, the shallow stuff is never going to be your actual forte. As my uncle once said, this is not my forte. But yeah, the shallow being, you know, shallow waters, shallow talk, just shallow and period. It's never gonna be a thing, you know, when you're being true to yourself. Just know, you know, that you are indeed a very rare, extravagant jewel. You are beautiful beyond measure. And technically, the thing that you're actually seeing is what you were meant to see. And it's just basically exposure, you know, to see that some of these, you know, beings don't mean you know well, you know, and they are not in alignment with you because they can't vibrate that high. Remember that. And so I just hope everyone has been doing okay. I know I haven't been on here in a while, you know, been working and you know, catching up, you know, with family and stuff like that. Been, you know, planning just for a whole bunch of different things as far as future plans. But yeah, I have a beautiful family. Beautiful family on my father's side, beautiful family on my mother's side. Everything is copacetic as usual. Yep. We don't really get into all those crazy spats or whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's a bunch of girls, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of us too. And we love each other. But yeah, I'm just going to pull a couple little cards. And I guess I'm just going to go ahead and blend that with the, since I never did finish the last reading that I had started on when I was using a singing bowl here. We were talking about working on your heart space, you know. And let me see, I'm going to pull from verses right here. See what we get. And this is going to be like a really short reading, okay? Alright. Might not be short, you know what I'm saying, considering what I already have to go with it, but you know what I mean. In him our heart rejoice, for we trust in his holy name. Psalms 33:21. Okay. Yeah, so you know, if you've been feeling, you know, a little out of sorts or whatever the case may be, you know, sometimes we have to go within, try to heal or whatever. And when you want to try to heal what it is that you're feeling out of sorts about, you can technically, you know, write these things down and, you know, come up with like solutions. You know what I'm saying? Like bit by bit, piece by piece. I'm trying to find this book that I got. Give me a second. Let me show you what I'm talking about. And then they just be all over the place. You know what I'm saying? They love to sit back, relax, and watch. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but there's a lot of us. It's a beautiful family. How you like my morning glory? She's been looking great. You know, considering someone tried to project on her and try to make her say she was ill. But you know, I look at it like this: when people project onto you, you have to always take it with a grain of salt. You know, it's not even worth worrying over, especially when you know you're genuine and you know other people are not sometimes. But you know, we don't worry about those people and what they do. Just look at it like this, or take it like this: alchemize whatever it is someone is projecting onto you into your positivity. You can say, like, every time someone, you know, says anything negativity, you know, as far as anything, you know, it could be food poisoning, whatever the case may be. You might have ate something by accident that you weren't supposed to eat, which, you know, I don't think anybody eats anything that they're not supposed to be eating or trying not to eat. People retarded, child. All right, it's a book. It's like you write everything down in this book, and I think mine's in the car. Yeah, it is. You write down, it asks you like a whole bunch of different questions, and it's like, when you write this, when you complete the book, technically what you do with it, they tell you to basically burn the book, you know, when you get finished with it. That's if you want to, you know, but it technically asks you like all your personal questions, information, stuff like that, and you could just like fill it out, and it be asking you questions about, you know, certain things, like as far as, you know, when you're feeling out of sorts, if you feel like things are coming up against you, if you feel, you know, negative about any kind of situation, you know, sometimes it's always good to stop what you're doing, pull yourself back, and let things just be, and let things flow as they should. You know what I'm saying? And that's the best thing you can possibly do for yourself, and go within. You know, a lot of us can't do that sometimes. You know, like me, for instance, you know, when I get, you know, to the point where if I happen to get out of sorts about anything or whatever the case may be, you know, I tend to, I don't know. I guess, you know, I just basically just do me. I just do what I do, basically. You know, I'm not going to sit up here and argue with somebody who, you know, I'm not going to argue with anybody. You know what I'm saying? Especially if it's somebody who's really trying to get you out there like that, and you know they're trying to get you out there like that. Child, ain't nobody got time for that mess. Period. You know, it comes a time, you know, sooner or later, it comes a time when things will have to come to an halt, you know? And it just is what it is. Either you're going to cure the situation or you're not. Either you're going to be a weirdo as far as just being creepy and doing, you know, creepy things, as far as, you know, messing with people. You know what I'm saying? Doing the most to people, lying on people, just, you know, just being an ugly individual. It's going to come a time when you're going to have to stop acting that way. Or you're going to, you know, you're going to find yourself as you are, alone, literally alone. You know what I'm saying? And not in, you know, in the best way. You know, some people can, you know, use that mouth and just run their mouth, and then have Peter, you know, mad at Paul because they done told Peter that Paul said something about them or did this and that and the other, and then these two people don't even know each other from a can of paint, and it just be all blown out of proportion for nothing. But if that resonates with anybody, take what resonates, and if it doesn't, then don't. You know, because I just, you know, it comes to a time where you just have to release things. You know, sometimes people think they can do certain things to you, and then they think they can just automatically just voila, appear back in your life like they never done anything. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we walk away from individuals, to try to heal ourselves. You know what I'm saying? To figure out what it is that you need to heal within yourself, and then maybe later on, perhaps, when people come back together, then, using that heart space, as far as forgiving, you can always forgive an individual, but you don't never have to forget. That's up to you, solely up to you, what you do with your time. You know what I'm saying? Everything ain't meant for everybody. Everything is not going to be meant for you to do in those, specific order. Everybody have to do their thing in the way that they choose to do it. Okay? Yeah, we have the yin and the yang. Okay? Unity, balance, energy, manifestation. I am in divine flow and move in alignment. You have to balance out everything in your life. If you want things to work out the way you want them to work, you have to use balance. And it says it's okay to forget and then remember. And then all over again. All right. It says the Voyager. It says return home, lessons, realization. Sometimes we'll walk out the door and we'll forget that we got our, we forget that we forgot to take the keys, child. Or, you be looking for something and then you can't find it or whatever. And then sometimes, you're just going to end up, forgetting. Then you're going to do it all over again. It said it's okay to forget and then remember. It's okay to forget, and then you'll remember, and then you'll be like, dang, and then you have to start it all over again. It's okay. Everything ain't meant to be perfect and always in order and always in a straight line, And then it says growing pains. It says healing, patience, and unconscious. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at this picture. She's got her, yes, I was just reading. It says, it's a process. And then, she's got the third eye. And you're going to have to go through growing pains. You're going to have to go through the healing. You're going to have patience with yourself. And because sometimes we be walking around as more like we are unconscious, you know what I'm saying? Just not even awake. And it's a process because you have to heal. You have to go through the dark night, all this mess. And then sometimes you're going to have to do it over and over again, just like you say right here. It's okay to forget sometimes. And then you remember. And then you do it all over again. It's a process. Like she says in the hair, it's a process. Everything takes time. Everything takes patience. You have to be easy on yourself when you're going through these things. Ain't nothing just overnight. And it says, it's okay. I don't know what I'm doing either. Sweet oblivion. You know what I'm saying? Uncertainty, fate, and humor. Sometimes you gotta, if you feel like you don't know what you're doing when it comes to what it is that you're trying to do, I don't care what it is. If it's spirituality, if it's a job, everybody has to start from the beginning. Don't nobody just wake up and just be like, well, I'm the best. You know what I'm saying? Or, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't going to like you. Everybody's not going to, be in your corner for what it is that you're trying to do for yourself. And you have to learn to accept those things too. and let those people go as well. You know, sometimes we try to sit around and understand an individual and why they're the way they are, you know. But you just have to remember, you know, everybody is not happy. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's not happy. There's literally laughing hyenas that are very miserable out here. The great goddess, transcendence, divinity, Shakti. Alright, sorry about that. And see, she's got a pathway that's leading, you know, basically into her soul. And you see the light at the end of the tunnel in there. You know what I'm saying? Basically, she's just taking things, you know, like transmuting things. You know what I'm saying? It could be negative things, positive things, dealing with life, death, whatever the case may be. She's the great goddess, so she can transcend these things. And so what I'm saying for you all, you know, everything is not going to always be perfect when you're going through this journey. It's always going to be a big voyage. It's going to be growing pains. You're always going to have balance for your voyage. There are going to be growing pains. You know, sometimes you're going to be feeling out of sorts. You're not going to know how to feel about this, that, and the other. You're not going to always feel like everything's perfect. Everything's not always right. It doesn't matter. That's one of the things I had to learn, you know. But the great goddess within you, within yourself, or if it's just one of your ancestors, you know what I'm saying? Or if you're, you know, you're dealing with, you know, God Almighty, you know what I'm saying, period, point blank. You know, God will always come first. You can speak to God and, you know, ask them to help you transmute anything that you feel like that you need to transmute, you know, for your highest. And know that you can surrender. You can let go now to what is in acceptance. Letting go, water, non-resistance. And having harmony. May sweet and soft things find you. Harmony, ease, inner child softness. And with all these things, you know, we have the shaman here. You'll start getting those, you know, those nice insights. You know what I'm saying? And it says, am I crazy or is it the moon? You'll start getting those insights. You know, getting messages from the cosmos, you know, from the universe. You know, everything will take one step at a time. But first thing is first, start with your heart space. Start with your heart space and start to learn how to heal with your heart. And I'll put a link in the bottom in the comment section, and I'll put you a singing bowl exercise on there, you know, for the heart chakra. I love, you know, learn to love yourself. You know what I'm saying? It takes time. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you feel like you know, you just been done wrong. You know what I'm saying? It be like that. But be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I love each and every one of you guys. I hope this message helps someone, and I will see you sooner or later. This is...